All right. Sorry for the delay, but we'll do fantasy playoff matchups. So we're gonna go with the number 3 seed versus the number 6 seed. Um, Interesting. I just noticed something that's even more interesting now. Um, Allen breaks his playoff drought, which is like something around 7 8 years. Despite losing last week, all his duds did. I mean, all his studs laid duds. He's very fortunate that Max, for the first time this season, has come through with a team that I still think wasn't even that bad. But we've got Rob as the number 3 seed. The playoff spoiler, Paul is the biggest playoff spoiler in the history, I think, of this league. When Paul doesn't make the playoffs, it's because his team starts off really, really, really bad, then continues on and has a really good second half of the season, which always falls short of just the playoffs. So we now have Rob versus Allen. So Coffee had to roll out the Dallas Cowboy stack, and through quarter 1 through quarter 3, you thought, holy crap, this doesn't look good. And yet again, king of garbage time, Dak Prescott coming through for him. Cooper and Gallup go over their projections thanks and courtesy of garbage time. Now, Amari Cooper, I feel like, has been Rob's best skill position player all season long. So him hitting 17 is very good. I think, you would love to see more, but you're not complaining with the 17 that he got you. Michael Gallup was a very, very interesting play. Coin flip, 13 points, you'll take it out of Michael Gallup. I don't think anybody's complaining there. So when you look at the, 31 points combined from both guys, if you told me, would you take that? I think everybody would say, yeah, I'll take that. So now things get a little bit more interesting here. So let's talk about how these two teams have been constructed all season long and what you have to expect out of them. When you look at Rob and his construction of his lineup, Lamar Jackson has been the best pick of the draft. Number 1, he's an MVP candidate, probably going to win the MVP. The guy's a lock for at least 25. I know we always play this game and say, yo, I'll just wait on quarterback. But sometimes if you stream and whatnot, you're going to get some dud games out of the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson has not laid up any duds, I think, all season long. If you want to get technical and you want to be like that, the Pittsburgh game is the only game. Every other game other than Pittsburgh, the guy has hit at least 23 fantasy points. Are you kidding me? Guy's an absolute stud. There's been a lot of disappointment picks from Rob, and I think he knows that. Odell Beckham has just been a bust. There's nothing you can do about that. Trading for Josh Jacobs looked like it was going to work out at first, and he's kind of been since the Chargers game, it's been his floor performances, and you're still looking for that upside performance, which could happen. Kamara, I know a lot of people are under the impression that this is still an elite running back 1. I think the reason why he's not reaching that is not because of volume, but he's not getting touchdowns. So high end 2, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of targets for me to say like he's just a 2. Anyway, here we go in this matchup. Let me break it down. Oh, wait. I got to talk about Allen's team first. It's the big 3. It's the big 3. It's Mike Evans. It's Michael Thomas. It's the New England defense, but I think they've started to kind of slow down a little bit. And Le'Veon Bell has not been what he was supposed to be at all on the Jets side of the ball. So I think as long as Evans and Thomas both don't go off for 30, this is a very beatable team. The way he's got here, though, is because it's not an impressive... it's been impressive at first because he was getting lucky with the plug-and-play running backs that were short-term answers like Chase Edmonds, and there's been a few other guys there, too, as well. But he's not... But if the mics don't go off, and I guess you can say Mike Williams recently, his team is very, very exploitable. But here we go. Lamar versus Jacoby Brissett. This is an interesting call here. Throughout the last month of November, I haven't seen Jacoby Brissett in any of his lineups. Maybe the Houston game. Oh, no, you did play him in the Houston game. But I think at Tampa Bay, you kind of like the call. I, for one, because he's not putting up what Lamar Jackson's putting up. See, I am kind of a contrarian viewpoint. I think this Tampa Bay defense has gotten really, really good over the past month of November. Um, really, really good. They've been able to generate pressure on the quarterback. It's not even their secondary, it's just that their front has looked very, very serviceable. Their linebackers have been really, really good. Um, the Colts have a good run line, which doesn't help because the Bucks shut down the run. But I think the coaching of Frank Reich can get a little bit creative. I could see Naheem Hines being really sneaky in this game. I don't know why, but Jacoby Brissett, look, this is a game where they're going to have to throw. I think last week he looked his worst. He was turnover prone, and he wasn't effective at all. But I think he can get the job done here at Tampa Bay. I think he can at least hit that projection at 20 points. But the advantage is clear to Lamar Jackson, without a doubt. The thing I like about Jacoby Brissett, too, is the pace of play in this game. The Colts like to slow it down, but Tampa plays pretty much up tempo, and you might get extra possessions with Jameis Winston throwing turnovers. I think he's played pretty clean the last 2 games, and I don't expect that to happen. All right, so Amari Cooper and Gallup put up 31. Can Mike? I don't know. You're getting ridiculous with what's his name in the flex, Michael Thomas. But I like Mike Evans and Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, I think, is going to finish as, if not the wide receiver 1, he's going to finish as a top 5 wide receiver this week. Coming off a very cold game, I think this was a Sean Payton coached game plan last week. It was against a really crappy Atlanta Falcons team. He did not want to show his full hand. That's why Taysom Hill got some action. That's why Jared Cook was getting a lot of action. Michael Thomas is in a smash spot, bounce back type of week. I understand the 49ers have been good against wide receivers, but Michael Thomas is a different breed of a wide receiver. Mike Evans against Indianapolis, this is another guy who's been absolutely cold. And if I'm going up against him like I thought last week he was going to go off against the Jags, but he didn't. Since the Seattle game, 10 points, 8 points, 7 points, 7 points. Godwin's been picking up the slack that he's left behind. Mike Evans has been ice cold. But against the Indianapolis Colts, could he get there? I'll say 15. I don't know if this is going to be a big game. But, I mean, the guy is too much of a stud to leave on the bench, obviously. I guess because he's in there, Mike Williams we'll talk about. I had mentioned this has not been a good pick by you, Alan, but he's come up clutch when you need him in like head-to-head matchups. 12, 6, 8, 14. This guy is an upside wide receiver 3. He has no touchdowns on the season. He goes against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This looks like a better matchup for Keenan Allen on paper. And I do think that both teams are going to lean heavily on the run just because both defenses are exploitable on the ground. So I'm not sure how effective in the volume game he's going to be. Bottom line is I think Mike Evans can keep pace with Cooper. And honestly, it looks pretty even with Gallup getting 13. I think Mike Williams might get somewhere in between that 9 to 10 range. He hasn't scored all season, and they're using him sparingly on these deep bombs because that's my problem with Mike Williams is when receivers are making plays and that are just jump ball plays, you're not showing any development in the route game anywhere else. He's been really sloppy this year other than the jump ball situations. And the secondary of Jacksonville is very beatable. I know Boye used to be a good name 2 years ago, but he is very beatable now at this stage in his career. Okay, interesting here. Patrick Laird and Darwin Thompson versus Jacobs and Kamara. I have to easily go with Jacobs and Kamara. Patrick Laird is in a good spot because no Kalen Ballage, which means he's going to see a lot of volume. I don't expect him to be effective on the ground, but I think he's going to get at least 5 catches that might make him have a serviceable PPR day. Nothing that's going to scream out to me and say, oh, wow, yeah, this guy is really good. This is setting out to be a shootout, though. Thing you like about Patrick Laird, the Jets are maybe not going to have Jamal Adams, who's really good against the run. CJ Mosley is out. Our corners are out. This is going to be a back and forth game. If you have money on the over, I think you're going to smash that easily. I think Fitzpatrick has a really bad game, but for fantasy, really good. So I think Laird should see the majority of the snaps. I know Myles Gaskin is behind him, but we haven't seen much of him. Patrick Laird is the guy they use in third down situations. Patrick Laird could be a little bit of a cheat code, meaning he might get like 16 yards on the ground, but then you might see like a 7 for 57 through the air. And if you get a touchdown, you're going to love the production that you get out of that. So I think that's not a bad play. Darwin Thompson. Okay, so the Chiefs guys are not in. Darwin, my problem with Darwin Thompson is this guy was a rookie. He was touted early in the season. If Andy Reid really wanted to see what he had in this guy, he would have easily put him in the game throughout the season without guys getting hurt. I think this is by necessity. And they even signed Spencer Ware. I think there's a lot of red flags here. He came in the game when it was garbage time in the fourth quarter, right? And I don't like that because I feel like what that tells me is save McCoy. We need him for this New England game. And Darwin, I think, is just going to be a change of pace guy. A lot of people think he's really good. I haven't seen it. I think, again, it's because you see rookie running back behind a guy who nobody trusted in Damian Williams that people got hyped for, but the hype was killed once LaShawn McCoy was bought in. And I do not see it in this matchup. That's just me personally. On Rob's side of the ball, Jacobs dealing with an injury is a little bit concerning, and they might shut him down if they lose this game. Kamara projected for 17. He's going to get his through the air, but again, this guy is on a massive touchdown drought. I think he puts up 15, though, so it's not like it's impossible to hit. By a landslide victory, I got to go with Jacobs and Kamara over that. First of all, Cousins and Allen included, I have no idea why you let Jack Doyle slip away. This is a perfect counter for Rob Coffey. It sets up better for Rob Coffey in this matchup because you got Jacoby Brissett and you've got Jack Doyle and Zach Pascal on the Rob Coffey side. So what that pretty much tells me is if Jacoby Brissett is going to have a good game through the air, Rob Coffey has at least 75% of the pass catchers that are in this matchup. Target share I'm talking about. Doyle is his guy. No Eric Ebron. I mean, I don't understand, man. This is like, look, this could backfire and I could sound like an idiot, but I don't know how either one of the Cousins had a top claim and just let Jack Doyle slip away on waivers, especially in a good matchup, and especially when he's going to get the target share. Jack Doyle is not a George Kittle type tight end, but he's a volume hog when Eric Ebron is out. I think this is a bad management move on your part, to be honest. And if Jacoby's going to have a good game, at least one of them is going to Jack Doyle. Now, Zach Pascal, I am not big on. I know this guy has come through in a few spots all year, but when you look at it, 28, 14, 18, 3, 2, 0, 14. Pascal, when Hilton has been out, he's been okay, but he's not been consistent. I guess if you want to get very, very technical in this situation here, Miami was with Hoyer, so you can throw that game out. Jacksonville, Jacksonville, they just got a heavy lead up in the ground game, and they didn't need to rely on the pass. So maybe this works because they're going to have to throw against Tampa. I think that's without a doubt. And if Pascal has a good game and Doyle has a good game, I mean, you're really going to need your guys to step up. OBJ, I think he just doesn't care about what happens anymore, dude. I mean, this has just been one of the worst picks. And honestly, I can't even fault you because I was in on this hype too. So there you have it. We talked about Michael Thomas having a big game. Le'Veon Bell gets a questionable tag, and a lot of people don't know what is going to happen. I'll be honest with you, Alan. This would really suck because it's clear Adam Gase doesn't like Le'Veon Bell. They did every time I watch Red Zone, I see Bilal Powell on the field. If he plays, you start him, obviously. But if he doesn't go, man, wow. I mean, you really, my guess would be Bo Scarborough in a game script that doesn't favor him at all. All right. Minnesota D, Rob Coffey hopped on that the second. That was a good management move on his part. And then you have Atlanta D. Alan, I gotta give you credit. This Atlanta defense at home is a very sneaky play, especially with Ron Rivera now getting fired. Kyle Allen is just he's looked really, really bad. This is sneaky. I don't know if it'll work out. I gotta go with Minnesota at home against the Detroit Lions and David Blair. And look, I got to go with the defense. Okay, my turn to time and pick a winner. Look, keys to victory for Rob Coffey. He's already hit one with the Dallas boys. I think that was the most confusing matchup. He didn't know what to do with that. You'll take the 31. Lamar's got to be Lamar. I think he's going to hit that. When it comes to Josh Jacobs and Kamara, I think in order to kind of get that, to narrow the gap in the point projections, it's through the running back game because Allen has not had running backs all season long. Kamara is in a volume spot, and Josh Jacobs appears to be in a decent spot. But the problem with this is with his injury. So I think you need those guys, just like you did with the wide receivers, to combine for 30. And my last key to victory for Rob Coffey is because you're going with the counter Indianapolis stack. You need one of Doyle or Pascal to get touchdowns. The only way I think this doesn't work out for Rob Coffey is either A, Jacoby Brissett has a bad game, but then Rob Coffey's looking at it and say, well, then, hey, he just wasted a quarterback spot. And I agree. Or that Paris Campbell, Marcus Johnson, Naheem Hines, they're the ones who get all the touchdowns. But honestly, like, these guys have not seen the field that much all season. So this on paper, this tells me Rob Coffey this is a very, very good spot for Rob Coffey, considering that now Jacoby Brissett is in the lineup. All right, Alan, your keys to victory. How do you pull the upset of this, not the century, but how do you pull up an upset? Well, Jacoby Brissett's got to ball out, number one. I agree with you because with Kirk Cousins at the helm, without Adam Thielen, he's just looked average at best. So I don't blame the call. It's just a shame that you got to go against the guy who's going to counter him. Look, the Colts don't rely on a number one guy without T.Y. Hilton. I think this would have been Brissett has been so much better with T.Y. Hilton, nonetheless. But there is a possibility where he can throw touchdowns to random guys like Mo Alley Cox and, I don't know, throw out any other random guy. Mike Evans and Michael Thomas have to get 30. I'm sorry. It's just the nature of the game. I think your best weeks have been when they both have synced up. And then when they don't, your matchup comes up to be like 110, 120. We saw last week when both of them don't hit, it's an uphill battle for you, man. Michael Thomas, this is the guy who's got to be keys to victory, and then everything else has to be kind of volume dependent. Bottom line, I think Rob has a distinct advantage. I think he's got 74% chance of winning. I like all the matchups other than Kamara, but Kamara is a guy who does it through the air, so you're not worried about him running through the ground on this San Francisco 49ers defense. And Lamar Jackson has just been a total MVP. I think by looking at this on paper, I think everybody would kind of bet the house on Rob Coffey. I would expect him to win and move on in this one. Alan, I got to say, man, there's been some impressive management moves on your part early in the season that I've really, really admired. You fought through this season with pretty much just three guys, and I've got to give it up to you, man. I think our whole division made it. I know you might have gotten lucky a few times, but I think the season comes to an end here, and I think Rob moves on. That's how I see it. Okay, next matchup for Wild Card Weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let me talk about this right now. This is now the third matchup these two teams are going to go up against. So far, the matchup has gone in the favor of the Commish and Morris. Let's talk about this matchup and where both these teams are. So I think the month September through October, I think both teams came out really, really hot. One team was winning a lot of games, the other team was putting up a lot of points. The calendar changes into like November, mid-November range around that trade deadline area, and things have definitely cooled off for both teams in a different way, though, okay? So on the Morris side of the ball, there's been a lot of moves that he made that a lot of people kind of were questioning. Word around the street is that a lot of people have had a lot of doubts on this team. And the one thing about Morris is last week, I thought for sure this team was going to get the first round bye. And out of nowhere, Tom Brady and James White just killed those hopes and dreams. They almost made a magical comeback on Monday night. Here's what I will say, though, about Matthew Morris. Say what you want about the kid. I've admired a lot of the management moves he made in season. The ad drops, the trades, I know they're starting to linger on in his head. Maybe he's made the wrong call. But look, man, if you want to go, if you don't risk it, no biscuit, as Bruce Arians once said. So on the other side of things, up until the month of November, I think the point totals were neck and neck between Nick and Johnny. Johnny's team has just been fucking astronomical. I mean, their floor is like 130. That's a good team. They're starting to show signs on my team I'm talking about of boom and bust. Not even just the receivers. It's now the running backs are becoming into that kind of category. You're seeing now more bust game potential. I think this team has not relied on, but has been very fortunate with the touchdowns. I don't have it up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of touchdowns scored with this team. I think maybe Johnny has passed it now, but there's been a lot of touchdowns that were scored, and now you're starting to see boom or bust kind of potential, really showing it that it's not 100% floor. There's more of a boom or bust kind of factor coming into play. So that's why I think that the last 3 weeks when the division battles have come, my team in particular has not looked that impressive. I think it's been an average of maybe like 110, 113. I mean, that's whatever. And then Matt Morris's team, he's still trying to find that stride. But honestly, let's talk about the matchups here. I know the score is 5-0. Morris, I got to hand it to you, man. When I saw the first Trubisky interception, I said, here we go again, bro. This guy is the defensive whisperer. I think Matt's been really good on these defensive calls. And I honestly, I respect your logic. You want to have a defensive matchup on Thursday night because I think the defenses on Thursday night always come into play more than everything else. So when we look at this matchup, there is one thing interesting because I don't think I've ever seen so much stock in one game. And we'll get into that in a minute. As of right now, I don't know if he's going to change it. Matt's got a lot of stock in the Seattle Los Angeles Rams game. And it's going to come down to Sunday night is going to be the deciding factor of who is going to take this home. Let's talk about it. Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff. Got to hand it up to you because Jared Goff was a very, very good claim. Jared Goff has not struggled against the Seattle Seahawks in his career. He is at home where he is more likely to play a lot better. The way you attack Seattle is the vulnerability of the middle of the field, and that's where Sean McVay likes to call his plays a lot. So that 20 points would not be shocked at all if he goes over that number. Deshaun Watson, he hasn't been consistent. He's had 4 dud games this season. He is at home where he plays a lot better. He plays a lot more confident. Will Fuller, though, thing to note, he's questionable. The hamstring started acting up again. And it's more notable. I put this stat out last year. His numbers are significantly worse when Fuller is not in the lineup. So that is a little bit concerning considering that Chris Harris is going to have to lock on DeAndre Hopkins. But on the flip side, I think this is a matchup where he is going to kind of find his own rhythm. Surprisingly enough, even with Von Miller, Denver does not generate a lot of extra pass rushers. And I think if you give Watson a little bit more time, that's where he's at his best. I think that these quarterbacks have potential to be neck and neck because I think the matchup, the talent is definitely better with Watson, but the matchup is there for Goff. So I think this might be an even draw. DJ Moore and Cortland Sutton taking on Cooper Kupp and Marvin Jones. So out of nowhere, DJ Moore has just become a volume hog, and he's been the key of consistency. Since the San Francisco Niners game where the Panthers finally got really exposed, he's commanded the leading target share, and you're seeing less and less of the Panthers trying to rely on Christian McCaffrey. Cooper Kupp, I think he should be fine in this one. This matchup bodes well for his skill set the most. One thing to note here, Goff has all his weapons back. Kupp, Cooks, and Woods. Cooks to me is irrelevant in this offense, but Robert Woods is starting to become the guy he was last year. So that is something to kind of look for a little bit. So I think this should be a good matchup. Marvin Jones and Cortland Sutton. I got to hand it to you. I know David Blau is throwing him the ball, but Marvin Jones always seems to come through against the Minnesota Vikings, dating back to when I had him his first breakout year in Detroit. This guy just I went against him when Johnny had him, and he dropped 4 touchdowns on me. So this is not a bad matchup. The reason being, Golladay is going to see Xavier Rhodes, and he's going to see Trey Waynes. Both guys have been really bad this year. But if David Blau is to do anything, I mean, he's going to have to chuck it up to either one or one of Marvin Jones or Kenny Golladay. So I don't mind him as a wide receiver too, to be honest, this week. I think the game script is going to go bode well for them. Golladay was the one that he had an eye for, but we'll see how Matt Patricia game plans with David Blau. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. On the flip side, Cortland Sutton, this guy I think is just quarterback proof. He's not yet matchup proof because of Tre'Davious White locking him down. But I guess if you want to throw out just Tre'Davious White, the guy's just been an absolute mammoth. He's a beast. And he's going to go up against the Houston Texans. This is the matchup part that I'm really excited to talk about. Melvin Gordon and Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones. You have both teams, that are now fighting in committees. I think beginning half of the season, there was no committee, and that had to do with one guy that was suspended behind one of my running backs and the other guy who was hurt behind one of my running backs. And on the flip side, you've got one guy who is the spell back on Matt's team, and then you got to have a guy who's starting to round into form. I'm talking about Melvin Gordon and Kareem Hunt, by the way. So it's interesting because you have two running backs on the same team going up against each other in a matchup that looks tremendous on paper. Tremendous on paper. The fact that they're home too really, really bodes well. Chubb should see when the Browns are up, Chubb sees the shit. Excuse me. I need to start doing that. Stop doing that. Chubb sees a lot of the volume. I think they rely on him because Kitchens knows he doesn't want to put the ball in harm's way with Baker Mayfield. I expect Chubb to be the closer in this game. Get a lot of volume, and they're going to ride him. But Kareem Hunt is not a bad play either. You're seeing when they give him a lot of rest and he comes out on those angle routes, he is dangerous. And I think that Cincinnati might sleep on that as well. So I like both of the plays. I like Chubb as an RB1. I like Hunt as an RB2. Aaron Jones and Melvin Gordon. Okay, Aaron Jones has now gone 2 games without a touchdown. That's the first time this season. And now you're starting to see that his point total is starting to kind of slow down a little bit. He was in a favorable spot against the New York Giants where game script was going to prove to him. I don't know if maybe the field conditions had anything to do with it, but look, the bottom line is this, ladies and gentlemen, that was just not a good performance. He got stuffed at the 1-yard line at least 3 times. I don't know if anybody saw it. He almost had his pants pulled down when they called a toss play. Rodgers was getting fed up too with some of the play calls. And then he got stopped right at the 1. I think this is a bounce back spot. Green Bay is at home as big favorites. They're against a team that can only do one thing, run the ball. Bad news for Green Bay, though. Their defense can't stop the run. So that is something also to look forward to. But I do think that Jones bounces back. And Melvin Gordon, I think, has a lot of potential to get a lot of volume in this one. The only thing you have to worry about with Melvin Gordon is that Austin Ekeler is still on the field. But it's not taking away from his snaps most of the time because they don't have a third wide receiver. If you're noticing, Austin Ekeler has been splitting out more wide now because they don't have Travis Benjamin on the outside. There's been times where Allen is in the slot, Ekeler is lined up on the outside, and then they motion Ekeler up into the backfield. They're doing a lot of creative stuff with Austin Ekeler and Melvin Gordon on the field at the same time. The running back matchups could get very, very interesting in this one because I think there's a potential where Matt can have these guys come close to the projections. Tyler Higbee, a hot commodity from the flow chart last week, taking on Darren Waller. Look, with Everett out, Higbee is going to see all the tight end snaps, which means he's going to be on the field. This is a matchup where it's exploitable. Gerald Everett went over 100 against them the first time when they met. Higbee, I think, was more of a scheme perspective last week, but I would not be surprised at all if he still gets some looks in this one. Darren Waller, the thing you like about Darren Waller is without Hunter Renfrow on the field, he's going to see they have to line him up everywhere. They were lining him up outside. They were lining him up inside. I think Oakland has just not gotten any production from anybody outside of Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs all season. I think there's going to be a lot of volume going his way. I think it bodes well for if they can set up the run. Waller's very good on those play action. If they get killed by Tennessee, you saw it. We all saw it last week. Garbage time. Darren Waller over the middle of the field is the way to go. So that should be interesting. This is what I'm talking about, our boomer bust on the Knicks side of things. DJ Chark and Tyler Lockett, Rashard Penny, and Jamison Crowder. Now, I think Matt was hoping he was going to have Adam Thielen in this game. Jamison Crowder has been very, very quiet. He is in a good spot against the Miami Dolphins, however. Rashard Penny, now splitting time with Chris Carson, but guess what? It is now an actual quote-unquote split. I think it was always speculated that this guy was going to be in a split, and it's just never happened. But Seattle is realizing, look, Chris Carson might cost us a playoff spot because he fumbles way too much. I still believe Carson is 10 times better than Rashard Penny. It's just his fumbling issues. Mr. Chark, Mr. Lockett. This is what I'm talking about with boom or bust. I need to talk about DJ Chark because since I've acquired him, you've had 2 games where he's gone off, and then everything else has just been bust or 8 points. He is in a very bad matchup against Casey Hayward. I don't think Casey Hayward is quote-unquote shut down. The numbers show that he is, but I'm going to give you an in-depth analysis on this because I need to convince myself that DJ Chark is a pretty good play. So I'm going to go at the Chargers, right? Indianapolis played the Chargers. T.Y. Hilton was fine. Galladay went against Casey Hayward. He had a touchdown. He was fine as well. He shut down Hopkins, but Watson ate him up everywhere else. Miami doesn't have a receiver at the time. Denver, Cortland Sutton twice was fine against him. Pittsburgh doesn't have a receiver. Tennessee doesn't have a receiver. Allen Robinson had 5 for 62. That's not really shut down. You'll be okay with it, though. Green Bay, look, it was Devontae Adams' first game back, so don't really want to consider that. Oakland doesn't have a receiver. Kansas City, Tyreek Hill's been hurt on the field. Denver, Cortland Sutton, 2 touchdowns. So when people are hyping up Casey Hayward as this dominant guy, I think it's more of, like, he's been good. I've been a big fan of Casey Hayward. But I think it's been more of a benefit of scrub receivers that he's faced or guys who have been hurt. That's what I think it's been. I don't think it's been him just being elite. And the thing that you like is that the stash is back throwing him the ball, talking about Gardner Minshew, of course. And they are lining up Chark a little bit more in the slot now. His numbers on the outside from the beginning of the season were more 90%. It's gone down to 61%. They're trying to get creative with him. And what that tells me is either A, they're trying to hide his flaws, or B, that they're trying to get their best guy in as much creative ways as possible. Specifically me, I am under the belief of that DJ Chark, they're trying to utilize him the best way that they can. And I also do feel like it's because in the Tennessee game, they were double teaming him. You're more likely to see less double teams in the slot. That's just me personally. Minshew is going to look for him. I know D.D. Westbrook's been consistent, but I think that was more because Foles likes the slot more than Minshew, and Minshew's more likely to take risks downfield. That's my analysis on the DJ Chark thing. Here's another guy I got to talk about. I'm talking about Tyler Lockett. The shin injury has been a major concern since he had it. He had a blood clot scare at the hospital. Then he goes into Philadelphia after having 2 weeks off, was clearly used as a decoy. Last week, in another favorable matchup, didn't do anything. He did nada. But I also think it's because he was on the injury report, and then they were saying he was battling the flu all week and that he was really, really sick. Pete Carroll has stated he's not on the injury report this week. So that's good. So I have to roll Tyler Lockett. I don't want to see this guy's been really good for me, and I've got to believe in Lockett, even though he's just been really, really bad the last 2 weeks. I just got to roll with it. Got to roll with Tyler Lockett in this matchup. You hate to see those numbers, but leaving him on the bench, that's just a crime. I can't do that. So defensively, New Orleans just has to get over 5. I was thinking Jacksonville, but I'm not entirely too sure at this point now. They might be a little bit risky because they are vulnerable against the run, and Minshew, as cool as he is more likely to put the ball in harm's way, which could take away from Jacksonville's defense. Matt, I will say, has some decent matchups in this. Keys to victory for the Matt side of the ball. Melvin Gordon has to get a shit ton of volume and become like that Melvin Gordon of old, which a lot of fantasy experts are kind of predicting in this one. And then that Rams stack would have to hit. I like Kupp and I like Goff in this one, so there's a possibility that could happen. My side of the thing, my side of the ball, excuse me. So Watson has been good pretty much most of the season, and he's already had a few duds that have made his numbers look pretty bad. Not gonna lie there. But if you're asking me, he's a key matchup. Moore and Sutton have been the most consistent wide receivers throughout the past month. So I look for them to kind of continue their success. Nick Chubb should get volume enough to be dependent in this game. Aaron Jones has to find the end zone. I think that's a big key victory here. And then the flexes, Chark and Lockett, they've got to wake up somehow. They've been well, Chark's been more up and down, but Lockett's been cold. I'm trusting him that he's healthy, and it was more of a health thing more than it was the injury thing on his shin because he looks okay to me. I expect him to kind of ease his way back into the lineup in this one. All right, guys, what do we have? What do we see? So I think that both guys, it's an interesting matchup. It's an interesting matchup, definitely. Keys to victory. I think Matt's running backs are very sneaky in this one, absolutely. And I do think that the flex plays on him are all boom or bust. But when I look at it, I think all season up until the last 2 weeks, I think the running backs that I've had have been very, very consistent. They've been in that running back low end one status. I know Jones is starting to fall into the running back two territory, but I like the matchups for both these guys. I like the receiver matchups as well for the starters, and then the flexes they would have to come. This should be an interesting one. So we'll see what happens with this one. So everybody's gonna have to study hard, and some people are gonna lose sleep over this one. So let's see what happens.